Review. So 3, 2, 1, live.
Okay, we're live. Welcome you guys for another edition of After Hours, where I sit down and have very frank conversations with the team. And the team today is Jaden and Sarah, 2 interns, and it's very timely because in a little bit, Sarah's going back to school. Aw, we're going to miss you too, right? We're going to miss you.
Yeah.
And we want to take the opportunity today to have one of those other deep conversations. And of course, Jaden is also an intern here, but if all goes well, Jaden will be here for a little bit longer. The third person usually in the booth is Mr. Dane, and Dane is somewhere else. I don't know where he's at.
Canada.
He's in Canada. Okay, because he's hanging out in Canada. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's get right into it. I want to welcome everybody that's watching online on YouTube. We'll be checking your comments, but most likely I'll just be really engaged in the conversation with both Sarah and Jaden.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we need to talk about? What's on your mind?
All right. Maybe we go me, you,
Yeah.
me?
Yeah,
Me, you, me?
All right.
Good.
All right. So I think I'll just ask you the question that the Chill Boys helped me formulate here.
Uh-oh.
What advice would you have for an entrepreneurial female about to start her own YouTube channel who has fears about what people will say on the internet? And that would be me.
Okay. And then, so do we just dive into it here?
I think so.
Okay,
I mean,
so when you say
basically
you, me, you, or me, you.
Sorry, I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
Jaden has 1 question to start with, so I was going to ask. This is my first question.
Okay. Perfect. So let me see if I heard this correctly.
Yeah.
What I heard you say was, what advice would I give to you as a female entrepreneur who's starting your own YouTube channel, but is a little reluctant because of the kind of feedback we can possibly hear?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Now, can we describe that feedback that we're kind of afraid to hear?
So I think it's nerve-wracking to open myself up to just any feedback. And so I guess the feedback that would be nerve-wracking for me would be like, I don't like the videos that you do, the topics that you do, and then just about like my performance in videos. So I think I can emotionally detach from my work. Like, I made this video. If someone critiques it, it's just my video.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I'm in it critiques about me.
Is the video you?
So in my YouTube channel, I would be the main character in it.
Right.
So I think it's being on camera. That's a new thing for me.
Okay.
And
I think what you're saying sounds very natural and quite common. So there's nothing like, oh my God, you're a freakazoid, and
yeah.
get over it. I think all of us, in whatever art form that we take in, and especially when we're so present in the art form itself, we're more open to the attacks because there's seemingly little separation between who we are as human beings and the thing that we made. Whereas if you made a poster or a logo, yes, you made it, and the people who make those posters and logos feel just as attached to it as you might on a YouTube video. Can we agree to that?
Agreed.
They're all
yes.
different forms of self-expression.
Right.
One is in a video format. Like, could you imagine what a performance artist would feel? Where literally the only separation is in that moment in time.
Right.
But otherwise, it is literally them.
Yeah.
Or is it? Or just an image or an impression of who they are. So if we say that there are more extreme versions of this and more abstract versions of this, how would we feel when somebody came to you and said, I don't want to share my logo design process because I'm afraid and it's nerve-wracking for me to be open to people giving me feedback and criticism other than glowing, loving praise? How would you advise them?
I mean, I think that's where you can talk about having some emotional attachment from that logo design. So yes, you made that logo, but you are not that logo. Like, you are not necessarily your work.
Yeah.
And when you're really passionate about it, it can feel like you are. But I think I've heard you speak on this, and I've seen other videos about how it's healthier to have some separation between the critiques that you get on your work
Yeah.
and you as a person.
I read something recently that described something about self-awareness and who we are and why it's so difficult to know yourself. I think when we're all born into the world, according to this thing I read, and it sounded really great, so I'm going to borrow it. It'll be mine in a second. That we're like this giant ball of sticky tape, that inside that core is who we are, but the instant we were born, we're rolling around and we collect and accumulate lots of things, right? And if you look at it from a biology point of view, the reason why we have muscle mass is we consumed something else to grow the mass. So when you don't consume other things, you start to waste away. So aren't we all just an accumulation of things that we sometimes, more often than not, unintentionally accumulate through our lives? And so are those things us? Like, do you ever think about that? Do you think about who am I and what is it that I use to define who I am? So let's talk about this a little bit. Let's take it to an even more extreme personal thing. When there is literally no separation between your physical form and your mental form or your identity, okay, and how you define yourself. So heaven forbid, you're out skiing, something happens, and your hand gets caught on a rock. I don't know, let's say you're rock climbing. Something happens. Your hand gets caught on a rock, and it's a choice you have to make between life and death. And the thing that you have to do is you have to sever off your hand to get away. Now, moving beyond the pain that it's obviously going to cause you, do you feel less of Sarah if you lost your hand? And is the hand that's wedged in the rock, assuming you choose life, you?
So I feel like in that way, when you think about it that way, it's like you still have your soul, even if you're missing a part of your body.
Yes.
Or,
and so how far do we go? You have to lose it to your elbow. Are you still you?
Yeah.
To your shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay. Then your leg got caught in it too. And now your leg, so you're basically torso and one arm and one leg. You're still you.
Yeah.
And then no arms, no legs. Are you still you?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So as long as you can think, I think that's your identity.
I agree with that.
Okay, so now we take it back to the real world, snap back to reality.
Right.
And we say, well, this video you made is clearly not as valuable to you as your finger or your arm. I would trade a video any day for a body part, right? Okay. So in light of that, maybe in contrast to that, if we understand it conceptually, that you are more than the things that define your physical form, and then therefore even more than something that you've made, because if you don't like that video, you can make another video.
That's true.
Okay. So I think it's like a snake. A snake sheds its skin. It doesn't moan that it lost something of itself. It doesn't think more of that skin than just a layer of growth. So if you can abstractly understand that, maybe we can look at you making a video as just you shedding something that is a representation of who you were just a minute ago. You can no more be that thing you were a minute ago than you could travel back in time and be a different person. And I think one of the most liberating things for me is to know that I'm here with you. 10 seconds ago, I can't get that back. That's gone. And that's now being recorded. So at least it's interesting for me to be able to look at that and say, that's a pretty good time capsule of what it is that I was thinking at that moment in time. And like I've said in other videos, I reserve the right to change my mind, because I like to think of myself as a learning, growing, evolving organism. And to say that I'm always going to be that person, that's a horrifying thought to me. The inability to grow and change scares me more than anything else. So let's just celebrate that you were able to capture a moment in time of what you were thinking, and that actually having people give their opinion is what you want. Let's take another angle. Nobody cares. Nobody says anything.
That's almost worse, right?
I think that's worse.
Yeah.
Like you made something that really moved zero needles.
Yeah.
You were just like really square, really vanilla and boxed in, and you never said anything that could be interpreted as being controversial, not having a point of view, always kind of placating to your audience and pandering to them. That's not interesting to anybody, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I think art, and I consider video art, should provoke emotions. So I think when people react to it, that's a good thing. And if they attack you for whatever things, it's like, if there's truth there, embrace it and learn. And if there's no truth there, just discard it as That's a person's opinion and they're entitled to it. I don't disagree that they have an opinion. I just don't think it's my truth. That's all. And people do this to us all the time. They'll say, oh, who's the idiot who mixed this video? The music's too loud. That's truthful feedback. But if they're like, you're dumb, it's like, well, I don't know what to do with that. What am I going to do? I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
Right? And is that okay?
Is it okay to...
Is it okay for you now to understand that? That's the advice I'm giving you as a female creative entrepreneur putting videos on YouTube.
I think it does. I think that the hang up that I'm still on is that it's harder for me if my face and like my personality is wrapped up in that piece of art. More so than if like, so if I'm editing like a video here like that I'm not in,
right.
It's about my skill, like my storytelling skill or my editing skill that I feel like I can develop, but it's feels like a lot more difficult to put myself out there, my personality and like the way that I act and like perform on camera along with that art. I think that's like the critique that I'm scared of, that it's harder for me to, like, I feel like my personality is closer to my soul than like my video skills are. Does that kind of make sense?
It kind of makes sense.
So I think I'm still kind of struggling with that.
Okay, can I ask you a question then?
Okay.
Do you think my personality matches my video skills? We were just talking a little bit before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that film represents the skill of the filmmaker. It's just a moment in time too. And this is a very talented filmmaker already. Yeah. This is his 9th film, right? So, I mean, like I said, the scariest thing is to know that you can't change anymore, that you're incapable of growth. So your skill will always be beyond, in your mind at least, beyond what you can physically produce in the moment in time. But despite that, we should still move on. I think the thing that gives you some comfort when you're cutting somebody else's video is there's some insulation between you and that video. So if somebody hates the video, it's like, well, I did my best. That's all I can do. They're not really attacking me. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, but if that's the thing that's going to stop you from making your art, I think we just have to learn just to be a little bit tougher, more resilient, and be okay with both positive feedback and negative feedback. In my opinion, negative feedback provides me more learning opportunities than positive feedback. Positive feedback just reaffirms what I already know. Negative feedback, and it's like, let's just define negative feedback a little bit, is critical feedback that isn't in loving support, like you're the most amazing person, but points out areas to improve. Those are learning opportunities, right? So if you look at it for what it is, and it's a gift, it's not a slam, it's a gift when it's done properly. Yeah. That's an opportunity for you to grow, and every video that you produce thereafter will be a little bit better. And I think that's really wonderful and refreshing. And if you look at almost everybody that's on YouTube, their first videos suck. Guilty as charged. That's just the way it is. And it's kind of nice. And I think what's been really interesting is as much as I may have wanted to delete those videos, what's really cool is for people to say, wow, who's this person today that I see versus that person, and it gives them hope. In a way, it's a backhanded compliment. It's like, you sucked so bad before, you give me hope today that I eventually can be there someday. Yeah. I think that's kind of cool.
I agree.
It's kind of like the same idea. Like if you look at your elementary school yearbook or your junior high yearbook, I'm pretty sure you want to throw that thing away. But you don't. And I think we need to look at the video just like that. I'm just making decisions. Now, I want you to imagine something, because I was reading about it in Marty Neumeier's book, Brand Flip. Like, who are we and what tribes do we join? You and I were talking about marketing and branding and the overlap between those two things. Well, imagine a pyramid. At the base of the pyramid are your beliefs, your values. Those never change. They're not supposed to change. They're immutable, okay? Above that is your purpose. So your beliefs and values drive your purpose, and your purpose is what you would do if money weren't an issue. It's like your mission in life. That's what you're going to do, right? Your purpose. And then that drives your mission. Okay? Now, when you act in a way that is incongruent with your beliefs and values, you feel a little funny. So when you produce a video, a piece of artwork that for whatever reason, because you're just off your game that day and you said something that you didn't mean to and it didn't align with your beliefs and values, and that's where you're going to have some pain. So when somebody points that out, it's like, oh, that was a horrible thing you said, and you agree with them, let the pain sink in so that you can learn from that. It's like, why did I say those things? That's not even me. Okay? So when you feel guilty about something, it's your brain, your emotions telling you, hey, fool, we're not behaving in a way that's consistent with their beliefs and values, right? Like if your system, your belief system is that we should be more egalitarian and we should look out for the meek, and somebody's getting their face pounded in, but you didn't have the courage to, or whatever reason, you chose to keep going the other way. You're going to feel kind of bad about that later, aren't you? Because you didn't act in a way that was true and in alignment with your belief system. So that's all. So sometimes I say things in videos where I'm like, why did I say that? I was being too goofy and I was chasing the laugh and I was trying to be too funny, and that's not who I am, and it just came across poorly. For those moments, I apologize, and hopefully if the audience is in there for the long run, they say, okay, out of 100 things you say, 4 things you say are kind of weird and not congruent with who you are, and we all can say stupid things because our mouth and our mind are not always connected, and they'll forgive you for it. And if somebody tunes in just for a split second, catches you on that one thing because it's being shared on the internet,
cancel culture,
right? Then you say, well, fine, if you don't want to invest in knowing who I am, what can I say? That's all.
Gotcha.
Does that help you?
It does. It does. And do you feel like, so how many like years has it been since you've been like a consistent internet on camera personality? Has it been like 5 years plus? Or like, do you feel like it started, less than that even?
I think in 2014 is when we first started, and we would produce a video every month, every other month. And then we would increase the frequency to maybe twice a month. And that felt like a lot to us.
Was that the school?
Yeah, it was the school.
Yeah.
When I started with Jose, it was very infrequent, and it was not something that I was thinking, this is something I'm going to do long term.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you first started, it was just kind of, what was the purpose of doing that 1 to 2 videos then? Experiment?
No, I mean, it was that Jose and I were making a product, and we needed to let the world know what the product was. So the initial intent was to create content around explaining to people what the problem was, not the solution. They need to understand the problem. Russell Brunson's book, .com Secrets, he talks about a cold lead, a warm lead, and a hot lead, right? And a cold lead, you need to define the problem because they don't even want to know the solution because they're not even aware of it. So we needed to talk about the problem, and the problem that designers face in the 21st century are a multitude. One is that they're being viewed as order takers, like, would you like fries with that? And the client comes to you self-diagnosed, self-prescribed, and is telling you what to do. So we needed to let people know that there was another option out there, that you didn't have to be just the craftsperson. I mean, you can be that, but you don't have to be, and we wanted to bring people into that world.
Gotcha. So is there any, like when you were starting that, is there anything that you wish you knew that you know now?
I wish I had a coach.
A coach for you, like a YouTube coach?
Yeah, well, a human being to tell me like, hey, let's see your thing and then work on it with you. It's like, oh, you need to have a catchphrase, and why don't you try these 4 exercises first, and then here we're gonna just like let go, and we'll film this 14 times, and we'll take the best version, cut it together, make it look like a genius. We didn't do that. It was like live stream, and just kind of, we always joke around that this company and the history of this company has always been not so much like we're building the runway as we land the plane. It's like we're building the plane as we're landing.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels. Like, what plane? Do we have wheels? Let's put on some wheels on this thing because we're going to hit the ground pretty soon. And so it's always been trial by fire, figure it out. And I guess because that's how I've lived a lot of my life, that didn't feel so foreign. It wasn't so scary. So whatever. And here's the cool thing. You can always delete the video.
True.
If you don't like it, delete it. Make it private. We do that all the time. We unlist it. We make it private because it struck a chord, a nerve in a way that we didn't intend to. Right?
Yeah.
There are a couple of videos that we've done that where we've had issues around politics, about sexism or race, and it just, for whatever reason, didn't come across correct. And so we'll take those videos down. That was not our intent.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some of the core of this, and I've been like listening to, I think I'm like the opposite of you in some ways, maybe not to the total extreme, but like I really want that plane to be built like before we take off. And then it will be there when we land versus like building the plane when we land it. Like, I think that's kind of my personality, and like makes me feel more comfortable, which I think would cause me to feel like my plan and like I need to be perfect, my video skills need to be perfect, my plan needs to be perfect for the channel before I start it.
Yeah.
But like everything, like the major piece of advice I've always heard from like any like podcast, article, because you know I'm there prepping, reading a lot, thinking a lot, not acting, and it all says like starting is the biggest thing to do, because once you get started, then you can delete videos, you can work and get better, like you said, and yeah, I think that's, I feel like there's no avoiding it now. I can't keep procrastinating with all that stuff.
And I think what you're feeling is very natural.
Yeah.
If we try to define me as normal, then this is going to be a messed up conversation. And I'm going to say that I'm abnormal. And what you're feeling is very natural. You are a prepper, not like a doomsday, like the world's ending, the post-apocalyptic thing, but you're a prepper.
Yeah.
You want to be prepared. You want to plan the picnic. You want to make sure there's food and the weather's okay.
Yeah.
And that you have a jacket in case it gets cold. And that is very prudent for most things in your life. And that's probably how you want to do it. For me, I'm like, let's live in the moment. Let's just try. Like, no jacket, no problem. I'll be a little bit cold, and I'm okay with the discomfort. But I think a mixture of the two would be good, where you have the preparation, you've made some plans, but you're not over planning that it's just killing you because you're not taking any action.
Right. It's like a form of procrastination at some point where you're just like, oh, I'll just keep planning this.
Yeah.
I'll keep working it out.
And how many times has this happened to you where you had an idea of like, just gonna make a hot video, and you sat on it for a little long, and then this internet thing goes bananas and somebody's like produced it, and you're like, that could have been me.
You know,
right? This happens to everybody. That was my idea. Well, you didn't do it, so I guess it's not your idea.
Yeah.
So this is why sometimes you hear me say things like, everybody has an idea, so ideas are worthless. Execution is where it's at. Talk is cheap. We all have heard that.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, ideas are valuable, but not if you don't do anything with it. So this is the thing. I want to say to everybody that's sitting on their next play, the next blog post, video, PDF, Instagram post, it's just do your best and put it out there, and just be okay with the idea that perfection is impossible. It's an imaginary thing. Very few people actually achieve it in human history, but they celebrate the people who try. And so just let's be a trier. Let's just do it and adjust as we go.
Yeah.
And you'll learn so much. And that's the beautiful part of life, is just learning and growing.
Yeah, which that's like a big reason why I wanted to start it, is because there's a lot I want to learn and explore. But like if you're always planning, then you can't get that experience.
You can't plan it all your life.
Yeah.
You got to just do it at some point, right?
Yeah. Do you have any like other advice for me as I start this journey?
I do.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
I mean, people watch this and they're like, yeah, easy for you to say. And here's what I'm going to say. And I've watched, I don't know who it is. I watched a video on LinkedIn, and a woman was saying on how, and I think she's a doctor, so she's talking about how to get over this, like a psychologist. She's like, put the camera and turn on the lights. Don't even turn the camera on. You just talk to it. Because it's weird to look at something, right?
Yeah.
And then turn the camera on, but don't hit record. Okay, we're getting more familiar with this. And then hit record and do it 14 times and just throw all the files away. And then do it again, and then only edit the best parts together. And then don't even release it. And then do it again, and then release it. So I like that. I like that we can take a big goal and we can chunk it down to scaffold up towards it, so that everybody can get started. And I know what it is. I've been at the airport before. I'm like, how does Casey Neistat do that? Boom, hey everybody, what's up? I'm doing this, and this is where I'm at. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Because we become super self-conscious. But if I practice this at home in places that I felt safe, maybe when I do it with one person around or two people around, and then eventually I can do it at the airport, and everything will feel natural and okay. So it takes small steps and do it. And if you don't like it, don't release it. You have full control and power over this. So I think that might help you. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I like that. Cool.
Now, before we move on to Jaden's question,
Uh-huh.
I just want to double check and say hello to some people on the internet, because
Cool.
people don't understand this, that there's just 3 of us working on this, right? So when they see one of us, usually not me, like Ricky or one of those people, the Chill Boys, they're like, why aren't they paying attention? Well, no, they are paying attention. They're paying attention to you, right? They're paying attention to you. They're reading your comments.
Yes.
Okay. So I see that there's 70 people here watching us live on my personal channel. So how's it going? How's everybody doing? Levi, hey, good to see you, man. I hope everything is well with you. Levi is this young prodigy. I don't know if he's even 19 yet, but he's already like doing business and negotiating and doing all kinds of wonderful things. Adam's here. David is here. John Beatty. John Beatty's always on. What mics are they using? John's asking what mics we're using. We're using Audio-Technica, the newer version of the AT4020 mics. They're really good. They're self-powered mics. They don't need additional preamp, John, and we've been able to calibrate and match. Nope, I see you're using a different. No, these are the same mics. I'm sorry. We're all using the same mics. For some reason, Sarah doesn't have the pop filter on, and we'll work on that for future episodes. Levi's saying the audio is super low. Did we correct that yet? So before we move on, let's make sure the audio level is right. Is Ricky Ricardo in the house with the Chill Boys? Maybe he can come over and help us out while we check on this. Hey, Mike Butkus. Elijah, what's going on? Nothing like a little after hours and designing. Yeah, so I think a lot of people like after hours because they can listen while working. And so for all you guys and gals that are doing the second shift grind, or you're just getting up because you're in that part of the world, good morning, good evening, and in case I don't see you, good night, or whatever Jim Carrey says in that movie. We are your audio co-pilots for this work session that you're in. He's, okay, hi, they're saying audio is good, audio is awesome. Okay, let's move on then.
Great.
Okay, everything is good now.
Right.
Great. So I'm going to put my phone down so you guys know this is live. It's so live. Okay, so let's move on. Jaden.
Yeah, I was just wanting to continue on that question of YouTube things.
Okay.
Do you